I knew the moment I saw her at the altar with another man, I had already destroyed her. The cathedral was drenched in candlelight, white roses everywhere, the scent of lilies choking the air. She walked down the aisle in ivory silk, her veil trailing behind her like a wound I had caused, and I stood at the back hidden behind a pillar, my hands shaking, my chest hollow. She did not see me. She was not supposed to see me. I had made sure of that. I had paid the clergy. I had bribed the guards. I had done everything a duke could do to erase himself from her life. And now she was walking toward another man, toward a future that had nothing to do with me, toward a happiness I had no right to steal. But I was watching, and I was remembering, the night she first came to me, the way her hands trembled against my chest, the way she whispered my name like it was a prayer and a curse at the same time, the way I held her afterward, wrapped in silk sheets, watching the moon trace shadows across her bare shoulder. I had told her I loved her. I had meant it, and then I had destroyed it. The ceremony continued. The priest spoke words I could not hear. The groom, some lord from a neighboring estate, a man of decent blood and mediocre fortune, took her hand. She lifted her veil. Her face was calm, composed, beautiful in a way that made me forget how to breathe. And I saw the truth in her eyes. She was not marrying for love. She was marrying because I had left her no other choice. I had sent her away with gold and cold words. I had told her she was beneath me. I had let her believe that I had never felt anything for her at all. I had let her think that the night we shared was a mistake, a weakness, a moment of indulgence that I regretted the moment the sun rose. She believed me. Why would she not? I was the Duke. I was ice and stone and public duty. I was the man who bowed to no one, who answered to the crown, who crushed anyone who stood in the way of my family's legacy. And she was a servant's daughter, a woman with no name, no title, no protection. She had no reason to think I would choose her. And I did not. I chose my father. I chose the estates. I chose the arranged marriage to a woman I did not love, a woman with a dowry large enough to secure my bloodline for generations. I chose the safe path, the proper path, the path that everyone expected, and I lost her. You know what that feels like. The moment you realize you have traded something irreplaceable for something you did not even want. The hollow ache that follows every victory. The way the world seems grey and empty when you wake up in a cold bed and reach for a warmth that is no longer there. You have felt it, you have lived it, and you have never stopped wondering what would have happened if you had been braver. But this is not a story about what could have been. This is a story about what was, and what was cruelty. I watched her say her vows. I watched her become another man's wife. I watched her leave the cathedral on his arm, a smile on her lips that I knew was hollow because I had seen her real smile, the one she gave me in the dark, when she thought I was asleep, when she whispered that she would love me forever. That smile was gone. I had killed it. And then I went home. The estate was silent. The servants had been dismissed for the evening. The halls were dark. I walked through them like a ghost, my footsteps echoing on the marble floors, my reflection distorted in the gilded mirrors. I stopped at the door of her room, the room she had stayed in for 3 nights before I sent her away. I opened it. The bed was made. The curtains were drawn. The air smelled of dust and emptiness. I sat on the edge of the mattress and I did something I had not done since I was a boy. I cried, not loud, not dramatic, just tears that slid down my face in silence, falling onto the sheets that had once held her scent. I pressed my palm to the pillow where her head had rested. I closed my eyes, and I tried to remember the sound of her breathing. I could not. I had been so careful to forget her, so deliberate in erasing every trace of her from my life. And now, when I needed her most, I had nothing left but the memory of my own cowardice. The wedding had been a week ago. I had not slept since. I had not eaten. I had not spoken a single word to anyone. My staff thought I was ill, my fiancé thought I was grieving, my mother thought I was finally understanding the weight of my responsibilities. They were all wrong. I was dying, not from sickness, not from grief, from the slow, suffocating knowledge that I had done exactly what I had always feared I would do. I had become my father. He had warned me, you know. The night before I sent her away, he had called me into his study, the same room where he had broken his own heart 50 years earlier, and he had told me the truth about power. A duke does not choose love, he said. A duke chooses legacy. You will marry the woman who strengthens your bloodline. You will father children who will inherit your name. And you will bury any feeling that threatens to weaken you. That is the cost of the title. I had nodded. I had understood. And then I had done exactly what he said, but I had not understood the price. He had not told me that the cost would be everything, that every night I would lie awake, imagining her in another man's arms, that every morning I would wake and reach for her and find only cold sheets and an empty house, that every time I closed my eyes, I would see her face, hear her voice, feel her hands on my skin. He had not told me that the legacy he was so desperate to preserve would become a prison, and he had not told me that I would spend every day of the rest of my life trying to escape it. Write in the comments what you would have done in her place, stayed or disappeared forever, because that is the question she faced. And her answer changed everything. I stayed in the room all night. When the sun rose, I made a decision. I would find her, not to take her back, not to beg for forgiveness. I would find her to see that she was happy, to know that the life I had forced upon her was not unbearable, to assure myself that my cruelty had not destroyed her. It was a lie, of course. I wanted to see her. I wanted to be near her. I wanted to breathe the same air as her, even if she never knew I was there. But when I arrived at the village where she had grown up, the house was empty. The neighbors said she had left the morning after the wedding. No one knew where. No one had seen her since. She had taken nothing but a small bag and a bundle of clothes. She had not told anyone where she was going. I searched for days. I rode to every town within 100 miles. I showed her portrait to innkeepers and merchants and farmers. I offered rewards. I made threats. I did everything a duke could do to find a woman who did not want to be found. And I found nothing. She had vanished. Not like a woman who had run away, like a woman who had been erased. And that was when I began to understand what I had truly done. I had not just broken her heart. I had broken her. She had loved me. She had given me everything. And I had thrown it away like it was nothing. I had sent her into the world with nothing but shame and rejection. I had left her to survive on her own, with no name, no protection, no future, and now she was gone. I would spend 7 years searching for what I threw away in one night. 7 years of riding through fog and rain. 7 years of knocking on doors that never opened. 7 years of waking up in strange beds, haunted by the ghost of a woman I had lost. I stopped the search when my father died, not because I had found closure, not because I had accepted her disappearance, but because the title demanded my presence. The estates required my attention. The kingdom expected my service. I buried my father. I took his seat in the council. I married the woman he had chosen for me. I fathered a son. I did everything a duke was supposed to do, and every night I wrote her letters. Letters I never sent. Letters I kept in a locked chest in my study. Letters I read aloud in the dark, my voice haunted and fragmented, my words desperate and obsessive. I wrote this at midnight, I whispered to the empty room. The servants are asleep. The house is silent. And I am writing to a woman I will never see again, because I am too much of a coward to stop. I wrote to her for 7 years. And then she came back. It was a winter ball, the kind of event I had attended 100 times before. Candlelight and champagne, and the quiet hum of polite conversation. I stood near the fireplace, my glass untouched, my eyes scanning the crowd as they always did. I was not looking for her. I had given up looking for her. But then the doors opened, and she walked in. She was not the girl I had sent away. She was not the servant's daughter, trembling and uncertain, hiding in the corners of ballrooms. She was a woman in a gown of deep burgundy, her hair pinned high, her eyes sharp and clear. And in that single moment, the moment her eyes swept past him without stopping, every letter in that locked chest lost its meaning. Because a duke can write to a ghost for 7 years, but he cannot rewrite the moment she stops being a ghost and becomes a woman who chose to forget him. This is the kind of story that makes you hold your breath, the kind you need to see through to the end. Subscribe so you do not miss what happens when he finally reaches her, when the years of silence shatter against the ballroom floor. And tell me in the comments, when she walked through those doors, did you feel hope for him? Or did you feel she was right to not look his way? She walked through the crowd like she owned it, and she did not look at me, not once. I froze. My glass slipped from my hand and shattered on the floor. The sound was lost in the music, but I felt it in my bones. I felt everything in that moment. Every letter I had written, every night I had wept, every mile I had ridden. I moved toward her. I did not know what I was going to say. I had rehearsed this moment 1,000 times, but now that she was here, everything I had planned was gone. I was not a duke, I was not a husband, I was not a father, I was just a man. A man who had destroyed the only woman he had ever loved. She saw me coming, and she stopped. The crowd parted around us, sensing something dangerous in the air. The music faded. The laughter quieted. Everyone was watching. She looked at me, and she smiled. Not the smile I remembered, the soft, warm smile she had given me in the dark. This was a different smile. A smile that said she knew exactly who I was and exactly what she had become. "Your Grace," she said. Her voice was calm, measured, perfect. I opened my mouth to speak, and then I saw the child, a boy maybe 6 years old, standing at her side. He had her eyes, her hair, her stance, and he had my face. The world stopped. I looked at her. She looked at me. And in that silence, everything I thought I knew collapsed. "Who is he?" I whispered. She did not answer. She looked down at the boy, took his hand, and walked past me. I did not move. I could not move. The boy looked back at me before he disappeared into the crowd. He looked at me with eyes that I knew, eyes that I saw every morning in the mirror. And he smiled. My son. I had a son, and I had not known. I stood in the middle of the ballroom surrounded by 100 people, and I was completely alone. The laughter of the guests felt like a mockery. The music felt like a funeral dirge. The candlelight flickered like the last embers of a dying fire. She had kept him from me. She had hidden him, and she was right to do it. Because if I had known, I would have taken him. I would have claimed him. I would have used him to bring her back. I would have done exactly what I had always done. Used my power to control her, to bind her, to make her mine. But she had not given me the chance. She had protected him. She had protected herself. And she had returned, not as a victim, but as a conqueror. I followed her out of the ballroom. She was standing on the terrace, her back to me, her hands resting on the stone railing. The winter air was cold. Her breath formed clouds in the moonlight. "Leave me alone," she said. Not a request, a command. I did not leave. I walked to her side and stood there, close enough to feel the heat of her skin, far enough to respect the distance she had created. "I did not know," I said. "You were not supposed to. Why didn't you tell me?" She turned to face me, and I saw it. All of it. The night I sent her away, she had already known she was carrying my child. She had come to my door, desperate and afraid, hoping I would take her back, hoping I would protect her, and I had slammed the door in her face. I had told her she was nothing. I had told her to disappear. She had listened. "You made your choice, Your Grace," she said. "You chose your title. You chose your legacy. You chose the woman with the dowry and the bloodline. I was never part of that choice. I was never part of your life. I was just a mistake you needed to erase. Not a mistake. That is what you called me. I lied. You always lie." I reached for her hand. She pulled it away. "I spent 7 years searching for you. Then you wasted 7 years. I spent 7 years writing letters I never sent. Then burn them. I spent 7 years. 7 years, she interrupted. 7 years of thinking about yourself. 7 years of imagining what you lost. But did you ever think about what I lost? Did you ever think about the night I gave birth alone in a stranger's house? Did you ever think about the hunger, the cold, the shame? Did you ever think about the nights I held our son and told him his father was dead?" I could not answer. "No," she said. "You did not. Because you never saw me as real. I was a fantasy, a wound, a regret. But I was never a person to you." She was wrong. She was so wrong. But I could not find the words to tell her, because every word she spoke was true. I had not thought about her suffering. I had not imagined her pain. I had only thought about mine, my loneliness, my regret, my emptiness. I had made her disappearance about me, and in doing so, I had erased her all over again. "I am sorry," I said. She laughed, a cold, hollow laugh. "Sorry," she repeated. "The Duke is sorry. What an honor, what a privilege. I should curtsy. I should thank you. I should fall to my knees and weep with gratitude. Please, please what? Please let me make it right." She looked at me, and for a moment I saw something in her eyes. Not love, not forgiveness. Something more dangerous. Something that looked like hope. "There is nothing you can do," she said. "I did not come back for you. I came back for him. I came back because this kingdom owes him something. I came back because I will not let him grow up in poverty while his father lives in a palace. I came back because I am done hiding." And then she said the words that broke me. "He asked about you." She paused. "He asked if you would love him." I could not breathe. "I told him you would not." She turned away and walked back into the ballroom. I stayed on the terrace. The winter air was cold. The moon was high. The music inside had started again, a waltz, light and joyful, the kind of dance we had shared once in a garden before everything fell apart. I leaned against the railing, and I did not move. I stayed there for hours, and I thought about the boy. My son. His eyes, his smile, the way he had looked at me, not with recognition but with curiosity, the way he had tilted his head as if trying to understand who I was. He did not know me, and I did not deserve to know him. But I would. I would find a way, not because I was the Duke, not because I had power, but because I had spent 7 years making mistakes, and I was done. The sun rose, I went back inside, and I began to plan. Not a plan to take her back, not a plan to claim my son, a plan to earn them. Every day I would prove myself. Every day I would show her that I had changed. Every day I would become the man she deserved, and I would not stop until she believed me, until he knew me, until they were mine. Not by force, by love. The kind of love I should have given her from the beginning. The kind of love that does not demand. The kind of love that serves. I started small. I sent food to her house, anonymously, then firewood, then blankets, then money left under the door with no note, no explanation. She returned it all. I sent a tutor for the boy. She refused. I sent a carriage. She sent it back. I wrote a letter. She burned it. She did not want my help. She did not want my presence. She did not want anything from me. And that was fair, but I did not stop. I started visiting the village where she lived. I walked through the market. I sat in the tavern. I watched from a distance. I did not approach her. I did not speak to her. I just waited. The villagers noticed. They whispered. They stared. They did not understand why a duke would spend his days in their small, forgotten corner of the kingdom. But they began to trust me. They told me about her, about the years she had struggled, about the nights she had wept, about the way she had raised the boy alone, working as a seamstress, then a governess, then a teacher. They told me that she had never spoken of me. Not once. Not to anyone. She had buried me so deep that she had made me a ghost, and I deserved it. But I also knew that ghosts can haunt, and I intended to haunt her, not with cruelty, not with demands, with presence, with patience, with the steady, unrelenting proof that I had not forgotten her, that I had never stopped loving her, that I would spend the rest of my life trying to earn the forgiveness I did not deserve. She knew I was watching. She felt me in the village. She sensed me in the market. She saw me from her window, standing on the road, waiting. She ignored me, for days, for weeks, for months. And then, one night, she came to me. It was raining. A cold, relentless rain that soaked through my coat and dripped down my face. I was standing on the road, as I always did, watching her house, waiting for the light in her window to go out. The door opened. She walked out. She walked down the path, through the rain, without an umbrella, without a coat. Her hair clung to her face. Her dress was soaked. She stopped in front of me. "Stop," she said. "I cannot." "You can. You are choosing not to. You are right. Then stop." "No." She stared at me. "I will not stop," I said. "I will never stop. I spent 7 years looking for you. I will spend the rest of my life trying to earn you. I will stand in the rain every night if I have to. I will knock on your door every morning. I will prove to you that I am not the man I was. You are exactly the man you were. I am not. How do I know? You do not. Not yet, but I will show you." She looked at me for a long time. The rain fell, the wind howled, and then she did something I did not expect. She cried, not the quiet, controlled tears I had seen at the ball, real tears, heaving sobs that shook her body, tears of anger and grief and exhaustion. I reached for her. She let me. I pulled her into my arms. She fought me for a moment. Her fists beat against my chest. Her body trembled with rage and pain. And then she collapsed. She fell into me like a woman who had been holding herself together for too long. She buried her face in my chest. Her tears soaked through my shirt. I held her, and I did not let go. She pulled back after a long time. Her eyes were red. Her face was wet. She looked at me like she was seeing me for the first time. "I do not forgive you," she said. "I know. I may never forgive you. I know. But I am tired of running." Her words hit me like a blade. She was not saying yes. She was saying she was exhausted. Exhausted from the fight. Exhausted from the years of struggle. Exhausted from raising a child alone. Exhausted from pretending she did not care. And I had caused all of it. I know, I said again. I need time. Take all the time you need. I need to trust. I will earn your trust. I need to know that you will not leave again. And I made the vow that changed everything. I will never leave you again, I said. And for the first time in 7 years, I told her the truth. I will never leave you again. She looked at me and she nodded. Not agreement, not forgiveness, permission to try. I took her hand. She let me hold it. We walked back to her house through the rain. The boy was at the window watching. He saw me. He saw his mother's hand in mine, and he smiled. I could see it in her eyes. She was exhausted from fighting alone, but she was finally letting him in. If moments like this move you, subscribe to witness the full reckoning that awaits a duke who has to earn what he threw away. Tell me in the comments, was she right to give him permission to try, or should she have made him suffer longer? Not the curious smile from the ballroom, a real smile. A smile that said maybe. Maybe you are not his enemy. Maybe you are not a stranger. Maybe you are his father. And maybe you can be a family. That night, I stayed in her house, not in her room, not in her bed. On the floor of the parlor, wrapped in a blanket she had given me, listening to the rain against the roof. And I slept for the first time in 7 years. When I woke, the boy was sitting beside me. He was watching me. "Who are you?" he asked. I did not know how to answer. I did not want to lie. I did not want to overwhelm him. I wanted to be honest, but I did not know what honesty meant in a world where I had abandoned him before he was born. "I am someone who wants to know you," I said. He thought about that. "Are you the Duke?" I nodded. "Everyone says the Duke is cold." "I used to be." "Are you still?" I looked at him. His eyes. My eyes. "No," I said. "I am not cold anymore." He smiled again. "Good." And he ran off to find his mother. I stayed on the floor, and I let myself feel something I had not felt in years. Hope. But this story does not end there. This is just the beginning, because the kingdom did not approve, the council did not approve, my family did not approve, and they would do everything in their power to tear us apart. The scandal of a duke loving a woman below his station, the scandal of a secret son, born out of wedlock, raised in a village, the scandal of a man who had broken his engagement, abandoned his duties, and chosen love over legacy. They came for me. They came for her. They came for our son. And what happened next would test every promise I had made. So if you want to know how this story ends, if you want to see whether love can survive a kingdom's cruelty, if you want to see whether a duke can truly change, then keep watching. Because the night of the ball was just the beginning. The storm was coming, but this time I would not let her face it alone. This time I would stand beside her, and this time I would not break. The council arrived at dawn. I was still on the floor of her parlor, the boy's voice echoing in my memory. When the horses thundered into the village, I knew the sound. I had grown up with it. The heavy hooves, the jingling harnesses, the authoritative calls of men who believed they owned the world. I rose. I folded the blanket. I walked to the door. She was already there, standing in the doorway, her arms crossed, her face unreadable. The boy was behind her, peeking through her skirts. "They are here for you," she said. "I know. What are you going to do?" I looked at her. I looked at our son. And I made a choice that would define the rest of my life. I am going to send them away. You cannot send away the king's council. I am the duke. They are more powerful than you. No, I said. They are not. I stepped past her and walked into the street. There were 6 of them, mounted on black horses, dressed in formal black coats. Their faces were hard, their eyes cold, their mouths set in lines of disapproval. Lord Ashworth led them, a thin man with silver hair and a voice like gravel. He had served my father. He had served my grandfather. He had served the crown longer than I had been alive. He looked at me with the disdain of a man who had never made a mistake. "Your Grace," he said, "we have been sent to retrieve you." "On whose authority?" "The king's. The king does not command me. He does when you have abandoned your post." I walked toward him. I did not stop until I was close enough to touch his horse's flank. Ashworth did not flinch. I did not expect him to. "I have not abandoned my post," I said. "I have taken a leave of absence. Your leave was not approved." I did not request approval. "You are the Duke of Marlton. You are bound by laws older than this kingdom. You cannot simply disappear for months living in a peasant village, consorting with—" He stopped himself. But I heard the word he did not say. He looked past me, toward the house, toward her, toward the woman he had been trained to see as less than human. I moved. I stepped into his line of sight. I forced him to look at me. "Finish that sentence," I said. He did not. He knew better. But I saw the judgment in his eyes. I saw the way he held himself, the way his men shifted in their saddles, the way the horses stamped their hooves, restless and impatient. "If you are referring to the mother of my son," I said, "I suggest you choose your next words very carefully. Your Grace, I mean no offense to the lady, but you have responsibilities, you have a title, you have a seat on the council, you have—" "I have nothing," I said. He blinked. "Nothing," I repeated. "I have a title that means nothing if I cannot use it to protect the people I love. I have estates that mean nothing if they are built on a foundation of lies. I have a legacy that means nothing if I have to destroy myself to preserve it. Your Grace." "I am not finished." He fell silent. The village had gathered behind me. I could feel their eyes. I could hear their whispers. They had never seen a duke speak to a councilman this way. They had never seen a man choose a woman over power. I was making history, and I did not care. "I will return to the capital," I said, "but I will return on my own terms. I will bring my family. I will present my son to the court. I will claim him as my heir. And I will marry the woman I should have married 7 years ago." "You cannot marry her." "Why?" "She is not of noble birth." "I do not care." "The king will not allow it." "Then I will abdicate." The word hung in the air like a blade. Ashworth's horse shifted beneath him. His men exchanged glances. The villagers gasped. Abdicate. A duke who abdicated his title was a man who chose to erase himself from history. His lands would be forfeited. His name would be struck from the records. His son would inherit nothing. I would become nothing. And I did not care. "I have spent my entire life doing what was expected of me," I said. "I crushed every feeling. I buried every desire. I became the man everyone wanted me to be. And I lost the only woman I have ever loved. I lost 7 years of my son's life. I lost myself." I looked at Ashworth. I did not blink. "I will not lose them again. You are making a mistake." "Then it is my mistake to make." Ashworth stared at me. He was old. He had seen generations of dukes rise and fall. He had watched men destroy themselves for power, for greed, for pride. He had never seen a man destroy himself for love. "Give me 3 days," I said. 3 days? 3 days to return to the capital with my family. 3 days to present myself to the king. 3 days to prove that I can be both a duke and a father. And if you cannot, then I will abdicate. The power shifted then, not because I had made a threat, because I had made a promise. And Ashworth, for all his coldness, understood the weight of a duke's promise. 3 days, he said. He turned his horse. He rode away. His men followed. And I stood in the street, alone, watching the dust settle, feeling the weight of everything I had just done. She came to me. She took my hand. "You are a fool," she said. "I know. A magnificent fool. I know." She smiled. Not the hollow smile from the ballroom, not the bitter smile from the terrace. A real smile. A smile that said she was beginning to believe. The carriage arrived at nightfall. Not the royal carriage. Not the gilded monstrosity that the council would have sent. An ordinary carriage, unmarked, unpainted, the kind that blended into the darkness of the countryside. I had arranged it myself. I did not want a procession. I did not want trumpets. I did not want to arrive in the capital like a returning conqueror. I wanted to arrive like a man bringing his family home. She stood beside me, wrapped in a cloak. The boy was asleep in her arms, his head resting on her shoulder, his breath slow and steady. "Are you ready?" I asked. She looked at the carriage. She looked at the road ahead. She looked at me. "Will they hurt him?" she asked. "No." "Will they take him from me?" "Over my dead body." She nodded. She believed me. She climbed into the carriage. I followed. The horses began to move, and the road to the capital stretched before us like a blade. The city welcomed us with silence. Not the silence of emptiness, the silence of anticipation. The streets were lined with people, thousands of them. They had heard the rumors. They had heard that the Duke of Malton, the coldest man in the kingdom, had found a woman, had fathered a son, had fallen. They had come to see the scandal with their own eyes. I held her hand as we passed through the gates. She did not flinch. She did not hide. She sat upright, her eyes forward, her chin lifted. She looked like a queen arriving at her coronation, and the people watched. Some whispered, some stared, some smiled. A child in the crowd pointed at the window. A woman held up a flower. An old man bowed. I did not understand. "There are people here who are cheering for you," she said. "Impossible. You spent your whole life being cold. They never thought you had a heart. Now they know you do." I looked at the crowd, at the faces, at the hope. And I realized that my fall from grace was not a tragedy. It was a story they needed to believe. A story about second chances. A story about love winning. A story about a man who had the courage to break his own cage. The carriage stopped at the palace. The king's men were waiting. They led us through the halls, through corridors I had walked 1,000 times, past portraits of men I had known, women I had betrayed, histories I had been taught to uphold. The throne room was cold, white stone, high ceilings, the scent of incense and ice. The king sat on his throne. He was older than I remembered. His hair was grey, his eyes were tired. He had ruled for 40 years, and the weight of the crown had carved lines into his face. He looked at me. He looked at her. He looked at the boy. "Is this true?" he asked. "Yes." "You have a son?" "Yes." "A son born out of wedlock." "The law does not recognize him." "The law does not, but I do." He rose from his throne. He walked toward me. He walked toward the boy. She tensed beside me. I felt her hand tighten in mine. The king stopped in front of the boy. He knelt. He looked into his eyes. He looked at me. "His mother is a servant's daughter." "Yes." "She has no title." "No." "She has no land." "No." "She has no wealth." "No." He looked at the boy again. "Then she has given you the only thing that matters," he said. "A son, a family, a reason to be more than a duke." He stood. He looked at me. "You have broken every rule. You have defied every tradition. You have made enemies of half the court. Yes. Do you regret it?" "No." He smiled. It was a small smile. A tired smile. The smile of a man who had spent his life surrounded by yes-men, by sycophants, by people who told him what he wanted to hear. And now he was looking at a man who had risked everything for love. "Then you are a fool," he said. "Yes. A magnificent fool." She laughed. A real laugh. The kind of laugh that had been buried for 7 years. The king turned to Ados. "I will recognize the boy," he said. "I will grant him the title of heir. But you will have to earn your place in this court. You will have to prove that you are worthy of a duke." She looked at him. "I am not here to prove myself to you," she said. The king's eyes narrowed. "I am here because he asked me to come. I am here because my son deserves to know his father. I am here because I am tired of running. But I do not need your approval. I do not need your recognition. I do not need your court. What do you need? Nothing." She turned to me. "I need him. I need him," she said. "Not the title, not the palace, not the legacy. Him." The king studied her. He studied me. He studied the boy who had woken and was now staring at the crown with the wide, unimpressed eyes of a child who did not yet understand power. "Then you shall have him," the king said, "on one condition. Name it. You will attend the New Year's ball. You will stand beside him. You will let the court see what he has chosen, and you will let them decide whether they can accept it." She did not flinch. "I do not care what they accept." "I know. But he does." She looked at me. I saw the question in her eyes. I saw the fear she was trying to hide. "The court will tear me apart," she said quietly. "Then I will be torn apart with you." They will whisper. Let them. They will judge. Let them. They will never accept me. Then we will leave. We will find a house in the mountains. We will raise our son away from all of this. We will build a life that has nothing to do with thrones and titles." She was silent for a long moment. "You would give up everything for me?" "I have already given up everything." The king watched us. He saw the exchange, the raw, unguarded intimacy of it. He saw two people who had been shattered by the same storm, piecing themselves back together in front of his throne. "Go," he said. "Prepare for the ball. I will announce the boy's recognition tomorrow. But understand this, once I do, there is no turning back. He will be a target. She will be a target. Every enemy you have made will come for them." "I know." "And you are willing to face that?" I took her hand. "I am willing to face anything." The king nodded. He turned and walked back to his throne. He sat. He looked at us one last time. Then go. And may the gods have mercy on your soul. The ballroom was a sea of silk and candlelight. I stood at the entrance, my hand in hers. The boy was beside us, dressed in a small coat that matched mine. He looked up at me with those eyes, my eyes, and he smiled. "Are you nervous?" he asked. "No," I lied. "Good, because I am not either." He walked into the ballroom like he owned it, like he had been born for it. Like the 7 years I had missed had not stolen a single ounce of his courage. She squeezed my hand. "Ready?" "No." "Good. Neither am I." We walked in together. The room fell silent. Every head turned, every whisper stopped, every fan froze mid-flutter. The music faltered, then continued uncertain and thin. They stared at her. They stared at the servant's daughter who had captured the Duke. They stared at the dress she wore, deep blue, simple, elegant, a dress she had made herself. They stared at the way she held herself, the way she looked at them without shame, without apology. And they stared at the boy who walked ahead of her, confident and unafraid. The Duke's son, the hidden heir. The scandal made flesh. I saw the faces in the crowd, the women who had hoped to marry me, the lords who had invested in my downfall, the courtiers who had placed bets on how long this would last. They watched, they judged. They waited for her to stumble. She did not. She walked through the crowd like a blade through silk. She greeted no one. She bowed to no one. She simply walked to the center of the ballroom and stood there, her hand in mine, her son by her side. And she waited. The first person to approach was an old woman, the Dowager Countess of Ashford, a relic of a forgotten era, her face lined with years of judgment. She looked at the boy, she looked at me, she looked at her. "You have courage," the Dowager said. "Thank you. You will need it. I know." The Dowager leaned forward. The Dowager's words land like a gift from the past, proof that survival is not a birthright but a choice. She built her fortress from the same raw material of shame and defiance. This is the moment that changes everything, the moment when the entire kingdom sees what we have always known. She belongs here. Subscribe to witness the rest of this battle, to see how far a duke will go for the woman who dared to walk through fire. And tell me in the comments, was it the Dowager's forgiveness or her warning that struck you deeper? "I was a servant once," she whispered, "a kitchen girl. I married above my station. They never forgave me. But they could not touch me, because I never gave them the satisfaction of seeing me break." She straightened. "Do not break." And she walked away. She looked at me. The Dowager's words hung in the air like a blessing and a warning. "Did you hear that?" she whispered. "Yes." "Did you know?" "No." "Then we are not as alone as we thought." The night unfolded like a battle. They came to her one by one, the lords, the ladies, the sycophants, the enemies. Some offered false kindness. She saw through it. Some offered open hostility. She met it with silence. Some offered nothing but stares. She stared back. And through it all the boy stood beside her. He did not hide. He did not cling. He stood with his chin lifted, his eyes clear, his small hand resting on his mother's arm. He was defending her. A 6-year-old boy defending his mother at a royal ball. When I saw that, something shifted inside me. I had spent 7 years searching for her. I had spent 7 years writing letters I never sent. I had spent 7 years imagining what I had lost. But I had never imagined this. I had never imagined a son who would stand between his mother and the world. I had never imagined a woman who could face an entire court without flinching. I had never imagined a future where I would be proud to stand beside them. The final confrontation came at midnight. She appeared at the far end of the ballroom. A woman in white silk, her hair piled high, her face a mask of practiced grace. My former fiancée, Lady Catherine. She had not spoken to me since I broke the engagement. She had not appeared at court in months. Everyone assumed she had retreated to her estate to nurse her wounded pride. But she was here, and she was walking toward us. The ballroom seemed to hold its breath as she approached. Every step she took was measured, deliberate, the movement of a woman who had rehearsed this moment in her mind 1,000 times. Lady Catherine stopped a few feet away from us. She did not look at me. She looked at her. "So," she said, "you are the woman who ruined my life." "No," she said. "I am the woman who refused to let your former fiancé ruin mine." The words landed like a slap. Lady Catherine's composure flickered. For a fraction of a second, I saw the rage beneath the mask. The humiliation, the fury of a woman who had been publicly discarded for someone she considered beneath her. "You stole him," Lady Catherine said. "I did not steal him. He was never yours." 7 years of engagement, 7 years of preparation, 7 years of planning our future, and you destroyed it in one night. I destroyed nothing. You were engaged to a ghost, a man who had already given his heart to someone else. You just refused to see it. Lady Catherine's hands trembled at her sides. "I could have you exiled." "For what?" "For seducing a duke, for bearing a bastard, for—" "Stop," I said. My voice cut through the ballroom like a blade. Lady Catherine turned to me. Her eyes were wet. Her lips were pressed into a thin white line. "You chose her," she said, "after everything I gave you, after everything I sacrificed." "I chose the truth." "The truth?" She laughed, bitter and broken. "How you do not know the truth, you never did." I felt her hand tighten on mine. "What do you mean?" she asked. Lady Catherine looked at her, then at me, then back at her. "Ask him why his father forced him to end it. Ask him about the letter. Ask him about the debt." "Stop," I said, but she did not stop. "Ask him about the night you came to his door. Ask him who was standing behind him." The blood drained from my face. She felt it. She felt my hand go cold. She felt the sudden stillness in my body. "What is she talking about?" she asked. I could not answer, because I knew what Lady Catherine was about to say, and I had spent 7 years trying to forget it. "Your duke did not send you away because he wanted to," Lady Catherine said. "He sent you away because his father had a pistol pressed to his spine." The boy looked up at me. I could not look back. "The night you came to his door," Lady Catherine continued, "the night you begged him to take you back, the night you told him you were carrying his child, he was not alone. His father was in the room, with a loaded pistol. And the order, 'Send her away or I will shoot her myself.'" The silence was absolute. She turned to me. "Is that true?" I could not breathe. "Is it true?" "Yes." The word left my mouth like a confession. "The night you came to my door, my father was standing behind me. He had followed me to the estate. He had been watching us for weeks. He knew about the child. And he told me that if I did not send you away, he would have you killed. Not exiled, not imprisoned, killed." She stared at me. "You let me believe you did not love me." "I had no choice. There is always a choice. He would have killed you. Then you should have let him." The words hit me like a blade. I would rather have died in that moment than spend 7 years believing I was not worth fighting for. I reached for her. She stepped back. "You let me raise our son alone. You let me believe I was abandoned. You let me hate you. And all this time you were protecting me." "Yes, but you did not trust me with the truth." "I could not." "You could have told me. We could have run. We could have disappeared together. He would have found us. He had spies everywhere. He had resources I could not match. The only way to keep you safe was to make you believe I did not care." She was silent for a long time. Then she looked at me, and I saw the war in her eyes, the anger, the grief, the love she had tried to bury. "I do not know if I can forgive you for this," she said. "I know. You should have told me. I know. I deserved to know." "You did." She turned and walked away. The boy followed her, his small hand reaching for hers, and I stood in the middle of the ballroom, surrounded by 1,000 people, completely alone. Lady Catherine watched me. "You deserved that," she said. "Yes, but it is not the whole truth, is it?" I looked at her. "What do you mean?" "There is something else, something you are still hiding." I closed my eyes, because she was right. There was something else, something I had never told anyone, something that would change everything. "My father did not act alone," I said. Lady Catherine's face went pale. "Who else?" "The king." The word fell like a stone into still water. "The king knew about her. The king knew about the child. The king gave my father the order." Lady Catherine staggered back. "The king? He wanted to use her, to control me, to ensure my loyalty. He knew that if I had a weakness, he could exploit it. And I did. I had her." Lady Catherine stared at me. "He was never going to kill her," she said slowly. "He was never going to touch her. He just wanted you to believe he would. I know. And you let him control you for 7 years. I know. You are a fool. I know. But this time I did not say it with shame. I said it with fire. Which is why I am done being controlled." I turned away from her. I walked through the crowd. I found her standing on the terrace, the boy beside her. her face wet with tears. "Come with me," I said. "Where?" "Away." "Where?" "Somewhere he cannot find us." She looked at me. "You cannot run from a king." "I can try." "You will fail." "Then I will fail trying." She looked at the boy. He looked at me, and she made a choice she should have made 7 years ago. "Pack your things," she said. "We leave tonight." The moon hung low over the stables as we saddled the horses. I worked by instinct, my hands moving faster than my mind, my breath tight in my chest. She packed what little she had, a dress, a cloak, a toy the boy refused to release. The boy himself stood watch by the stable door, his small frame silhouetted against the torchlight. "The king's men are at the front gate," he whispered. "Then we go through the back." "There is no back gate." "Then we make one." I led them through the shadows of the palace grounds, past the sleeping gardens, past the silent fountains, past the statues of kings who had ruled before me. I knew every stone, every path, every hidden door. I was born in this palace. I would not die in it. We reached the outer wall. It was high, too high for a woman and a child to climb, but I had planned for this. Years ago, when I first understood what my father was, I had carved a passage into the wall, a secret passage, a way out. I pried open the stone. The tunnel yawned before us, dark and cold. "Trust me," I said. She looked at me. "I have not given you a reason to trust me in 7 years, but I am asking you now, one last time." She took the boy's hand. She stepped into the tunnel, and I followed. Behind us, the palace bells began to ring. They had discovered our absence. The hunt had begun.